Good evening and welcome to Speaker Club Saturday night number 123. An interesting number. I'm sure in the years to come, we will be saying 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. God bless us with that. Last week was an interesting session about the laws, interesting laws, scientific laws or behavioral laws based on the observed realities of different people in different segments in different lives. The idea was to explore how a certain law based on the research that has happened explains how a lot of things operate for us. Sometimes it gives us a good indication about what we are doing right or helps us reflect on what we need to change because the law is telling us of what works for most of the people. Again, while I say law, there will always be exceptions, and we as individuals come with our own DNA, come with our own uniqueness and the way we operate. But the important thing is, if there are segments of a certain law which we feel we are running against, I think these are the laws that help us reflect on what we need to change to make amends, to find success in our own life in different facets of whatever and wherever this law is applicable. Last week, we discussed about 4 interesting laws. We'll be discussing about what those laws were and more importantly, what happened about the learning which came through in the last 1 week and what changed as a result of that in the last 1 week. So let's begin with the 4 laws that we discussed in a brief and then get going with the reflections that we have from all of y'all about what changed as a result of this, or what did you observe in your life as a result of the laws that you became aware of during the last session. Please, may I request Uma Nataraj to share the laws and one law at a time and what did it represent or what did it mean? And then we can have a reflection on each of the law one at a time. Uma ma'am.
Yeah. The first law was Murphy's law. It says that anything that can go wrong will go wrong, no matter what.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Uma ma'am. I think the entire premise behind this law was how are you able to think about the negatives which can come through? Do you think of it in the angle of fear or do you think of it in the angle of caution and so that you can plan better? Anyone had any experience over the last 1 week where you started something new and you saw the application of the Murphy's law in what you were doing or what you were starting and the way you were thinking about it? And you would like to share any story about the realization or the learnings from Murphy's law in your life in the last 1 week? Anyone? Yes, go ahead, Pawan.
Yeah, basically this week I had traveled to my native place. So I had to do some private activity. So I used maybe intentionally or unintentionally the Murphy's law. So visualized what could happen. So like I was thinking, okay, I'm boarding the train and then going to that place. So characters involved in that place for that activity and their phone numbers, I contacted them in advance because my travel should be proper. So from time to time, I anticipated what could be the sequence of actions, be it hotel booking and other things. So yeah, it could be maybe planning for not failing or utilizing my time in a better way. I just arrived at 7 p.m. now from my native place just for sake of this program. So I started at 12, assuming that, okay, bus may be getting delayed. Though it's 5-hour journey, it took 7 hours. So I planned things in such a way that I may get delayed and that kind of thing. It was good.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Pawan, for sharing that. This interesting last action point is not what we are looking to explore. He could have begun assuming a 5-hour journey, everything being rosy and picture perfect as expected. He would have begun at 3 o'clock. Even then, he would have reached at around 8 o'clock. And yet he began at 12 o'clock with the precaution that if something goes wrong, he didn't anticipate or he didn't plan for it. But because he became cautious that it could be a case, he still reached at 7 o'clock well within the time where he wanted to be. Thank you, Pawan, for sharing that. Interesting. Dinesha.
Sir, in the professional WhatsApp group, if you want to appreciate someone, we'll write, right? Whatever the contribution or good business they do. Always there is subconscious mind in that I'll do some mistake when they're responding to or reply to that message. It used to happen so many times, small spelling mistake or something grammar mistake. It used to happen. And then after the last session, I started realizing, okay, this is what happens. Something goes wrong, obviously it goes wrong. But yesterday also, when I was replying, I was like thoroughly read twice, even though in realized sir was missing. Next to that name, I added sir and then put send. After I see, instead of SIR, SUR. And this was one. And the second realization, we went to supermarket to buy. After doing lot of logical thinking, everything, there is a huge line. Okay, if I take this line, there is a line is going very slow. After logic, everything, we choose one line. But end after what happened, that line will become slow. These are the two realizations.
Thank you, Dinesh. Interesting. We don't schedule for it, but yet it happens. Or is it a case where you are just overthinking because you had this precaution in mind? Nobody would have bothered or thought too much about sir being replaced with SUR. They would have understood a mistake of autocorrect. But are you too cautious about the fact that, am I going to make a mistake? Because had it been absent is a mistake, I would say, where you had a precaution, you tried to cover up or do the right thing and get it, review it and then send it. But autocorrect is something I feel the receiver can still understand that it could have been, because it's WhatsApp. It's not a mail or a system where you have proper tools where the correction and the visibility of everything is happening. Are you too cautious of the mistakes that are going to happen? Because they will happen. In WhatsApp, it's informal in nature. The question that you need to ask is, are you becoming too cautious, or are you wasting, instead of sending a message in 1 minute, are you wasting 10 minutes over that? A question for you to ponder, Dinesha. Thank you. Rabia.
Yeah, hello, good evening, one. I'm just hit by the cold, I can say. My voice, please bear with me. So the thing is, just now what he has shared, the same thing happened, and it is very, very embarrassing situation for me, I can say. Still, I have not overcome with the thought, and I don't know how I'm going to face it on Monday when I'm going to see my colleagues. It so happened I fell sick 2 days ago, and today I applied leave. Yesterday I went somehow, and everybody suggested me, you better take leave and take rest. So in the early hours in the morning, when I got up around 7 o'clock or something, I felt that everybody was so supportive and were just saying me to take rest. So why not to inform them that I am applying leave today? So the same way I just wrote, you can't even imagine, I can't even feel like saying it, you know. It is our group in which I just posted a message stating, I'll tell you later what I stated, saluted them, and then I wrote, today I'm on leave. And then after, I was little drowsy also, I was not fully woken. Then after around 10 o'clock, I received a message in the group, and I was just expecting that they may say, okay, take rest or something. I was shocked to see a message stating, from one of our colleagues wrote, by the grace of God, we all are alive, not to worry. And I was shocked. I said, why are they saying like that? Then I rechecked my message. Instead of saying dear all, it was written dead all. I was about to die, I can say, when I read that message. I was so shocked. And then the moment I read, I deleted. Thank God that we have an option of delete everyone. So I deleted that. I opted for that option, deleted. But still, that scars, you can say, you know, still there in my heart and mind. And I don't know. Though I apologized and said the same as auto correct issue had happened, but still, such a situation happened.
Thank you, Rabia. But if, as an example, Rabia posts a message right now in this group, dead all, are we overthinking about our mistakes? Aren't we aware that everyone will make sense out of it, and it is not what it looks like, but they'll also get to know what it was meant to be? Why do we assume everyone to take us literally, when the fact is there will be mistakes? Unless I'm talking of places where it is a professional place and there's a lot at stake for every word that you write, it's a different matter. But for everything else, I believe if Rabia wrote this message here in the same way that she has spoken and sent it there, and here there's no delete for all option, we would still get it, right? That this is what she meant. At the bottom, we'll write star DEAR instead of dead. Understand it in this way. Simple correction, right? Are we too cautious about our mistakes? Are we
Yeah,
too
we are.
critical on ourselves for our mistakes? Is something that we need to ask yourself, because that's your undue pressure that you're putting on yourself for the silly mistakes. We can be cautious, we can do better, but that does not anywhere mean that we won't be making those mistakes. It's a part and parcel. Just be a little more cautious, but you do not fear the outcome that you are actually expecting everyone to be dead. That was not the case.
Yeah,
Let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next case. Next law. Uma.
Yeah, the second law is the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. It says that 80% of output from a given situation or system is determined by the 20% of the input.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am, for sharing that. Anyone, Uma, if you'd like to share any instance or in the past, more than the observation of what is the cause and the effect, what did you do as a result of this observation in your life in the last 1 week? I want to listen to those stories. Any observation, anyone where you saw that this small part is having a major impact on my life, and I'm in charge, or I'm trying to take care or control it right now. Madhu, go ahead. Madhu, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually particularly on all 4 laws. I very much connected with this law. Even last week also said, because I completely understand the value of that thing. Because without knowing this 80-20 principle or the Pareto principle, I used to work, and from my childhood also, whenever I'm preparing for exams, that is a big mistake I have done. Even still, many people are doing that. Even some of my friends also. What I used to do is in examinations, if I have a 20 short questions, and if I have a 5 big questions, I used to start, and small questions. And I feel like, oh, okay, out of 20 is 2 is over, 3 is over, 5 is. I feel like, it gives me some more, motivation to complete it. Sometimes maybe it may work, because some people says that, no, start with a baby step, something like that. But if I have only particular time, I cannot, start with the lesser part, or where I get the more result. So then after reading this book, how I impacted by reading this book, which I shared last week. After reading the book, I think around 5 to 8 videos also I have watched, short videos about that principle. And I felt like that is the area where people can improve their productivity. So even I used to do it. Somewhere again, I lost again after our session, again I read. To adding to this, there is one more book called Eat That Frog First by Brian Tracy. He used to tell that write over all the points and make it ABC. And again, if you get 3 or 4 A's, again give it A1, A2, A3, something like that. And any task which you are doing in A, it has to complete or A1, A2, A3. Then only you should go to B. Then only B, C. Suppose if you have a 4, B1, B2, B3, then only you have to go to C1, C2. Like that. So I think the last week again, I'm in track. I felt like, yeah, I know that earlier also, but we used to like track sideway, but now I think it's giving me like good results and productivity. I feel still I need to do it, but that's a very important point which I have taken from last week, and it's really giving good results.
Thank you, Madhu. In the paucity of time, I would request everyone to please see my screen. If you see a symbol like something like whatever, if I'm smiling or doing some reaction like this, please make sure you curtail your answers so that we can have a chance for everyone and we can move to the next laws which are also there for today. Anyone else would like to share your any other response, any other experience from the Pareto principle? I would again request all of you all to please switch on your videos if it's possible. Akanksha, go ahead.
So I want to share the 80-20 principle. After what Madhu sir shared, this might be like not a very good thing to talk about. But I realized that, today I had an exam. 80% of the part I didn't prepare before. I prepared the 20% of part after going to college today. And I wrote almost 80% of the paper just from what I learned in this 20% of today. So it did actually work, the 80-20 principle. That's what I wanted to share.
Interesting point. Anyone else would like to share anything here? Rashmi? Rashmi Sahai? Anything or later? Okay. Okay, no issues. So before we move forward, I'll just quickly share here where I see the very strong impact of this 80-20 in my life is basically when I'm working, a large part of my working day is engaged in our jewelry business, but my heart beats for living life. I've always seen that the 1 hour or 1.5 hours that I spend on working for living life or about living life or the things that I'm doing in living life, for that 1.5 hours a day, once I'm back from my office, I sit down at around 10:30, 11 or something like that and work for 1.5 hours. And if I'm in a flow, sometimes I don't know, it turns out to be 2-3 hours also. The impact of working alone on something that I'm passionate gives me the energy to survive through the rest of the day and also not crib about the fact that I'm not engaged completely into this. This working time of 2 hours energizes my rest of the day and keeps me motivated. That's the power of how I'm making sure I give myself this 1 hour or 2 hours every day to make sure I deliver on the rest of the day. So look at how you are working on your timelines, your interests or something that you're passionate and see the impact it has on everything else. Let's move to the next law. Uma ma'am.
Yeah, the third law is Parkinson's law. It says work expands to fit the time allotted for its completion. So I would like to give an example for this. Recently, I wanted to start learning Bhagavad Gita. And one of my cousins, my husband's cousins, she's a ISKCON devotee, and she is very good in Bhagavad Gita and its explanation and all that. So we thought we will just link up on Zoom and we will share our learnings from each other. And she said, when can we start? I said, Shubhasya Shigram, let us start the next day itself. So we talked on Friday and I said, we will start from Saturday. And that's how we started last Saturday. And Saturday, Sunday, we thought we'll connect. And again, we connected today also in the evening. So when you fix a time or a goal, a fixed time when you give, definitely you will achieve it. Unless you have a time schedule, you don't go for it. No?
Interesting.
Your work keeps on expanding. I'll do later. But if you fix a time, definitely you'll do it.
Uma ma'am, have you had this instance of wanting to learn Bhagavad Gita in the past as well?
Yeah, I wanted to learn, but the time has come now, I think.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you. That talks about the idea of where she committed to starting it right away. And that's where it began. The point is, if you say I'll begin next week, never comes. Who else is going to go? About Parkinson's law, anyone would like to share any story? Any action point or change that you have observed in the last 1 week? Anyone? AJ, go ahead.
Actually, I couldn't understand this is related to this law or not about that smartphone. Actually, I have worked on it last week. So may I share?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, when you last Saturday, when you discussed about that line, that how many times you watch your mobile at the time of meeting, then that line actually stuck in my head. And I have decided that I have to learn something related to digital detox. And I have go through a session and it's a really wonderful session. And I have learned a digital detox and I have done it. Now you can believe it. I can feel that now I am not actually my mobile is too much free. Now the notification is too less. I don't feel always to check my mobile all the time. It's not completely, but it has worked a lot. What I have done actually, I have done related to digital detox. First, our problem happens that if we invest our time or money anywhere once, then we don't throw that thing actually. From our house also, don't want to throw that thing from our house also and from our mobile also. Suppose if you installed your apps once, then you don't want to uninstall that apps. You are not using that apps, but you don't want to uninstall also. So when I have go through those apps that which I have not used last 30 days, and I have found out 29 apps were there, I have uninstalled all those apps. If it's required, I can install it in later. Second, remove all those time stealing apps from my front page. I remove those apps. So it helps me a lot. Number 3, I block all the notification, those apps notification which is not required. That YouTube notification or Zomato notification, this kind of has not required. So I have removed the notification in this way. So I have done it actually. And number 4, which I have done for the WhatsApp, because WhatsApp has required. So there are a lot of groups, approx 30 plus groups I am there, because I have also doing this kind of thing. So I have a lot of group. So I have actually mute every group's notification and archive some groups also. And now I feel that I feel relaxed actually because of all those things. And one thing I have to done, I will do it in this week, that unsubscribe the email. There is a website uncontrol.com. This kind of websites are there. If I go there, I can easily unsubscribe all the email. So
that's
those
interesting.
emails have not required.
So
if I done it,
yeah, if you're able to do that, AJ, if you're able to do that, I think do share that link. I think that will be a helpful resource for everyone because of the spam of the mails that we keep getting.
Yeah, and in that link, actually, you can understand that with how many email you are connected. So you don't know about it. If you one by one try to unsubscribe, then it's very difficult. It will not happen. So you can unsubscribe that from once a click actually, and then it's very useful actually.
Please share that in our group. Badly
I think you can share it with me. I'll go ahead with sharing the if it really works. Once you try it out, and then if it works, you feel then you can surely share it with us. I'll be more than happy to share something like this, which will be resourceful for everything. Okay, with that, I think thank you, AJ. That was a wonderful pointer on how and the proper steps that you have taken to actually digitally detox. I would like to have a review of this after a month to see the results of how far you have been able to stick to it and how far it has helped you and the changes that you have seen as a result. Thank you, AJ, for saying that. Umam, can we have the next principle, next law, and we'll quickly move to the today's laws.
Walson's law, it says interrupted work will be less effective and will take more time. So if you're doing work continuously, maybe the productivity will be more. And if you're interrupted, it will take more time.
Interesting. I think AJ's pointer about digital detox largely works in this point because it's all about how you can stay connected to one thing and not be distracted from it. Anyone has any stories where you have seen or how you have practiced how to avoid the distractions that you're getting? Pavan, go ahead. You're on mute, Pavan.
I noticed that there is something called digital well-being in my phone after attending last week's meeting. So I started exploring it and tried to understand where my time is going with respect to apps and other things. And it's a good, like you don't need to install any other things. It comes mostly in most of the phone inbuilt. So you can control the notification. It was very good. So I could see that progressively I reduced my digital usage on the phone. So that was one good learning.
Thank you, Pavan. Again, the large impact of this year is awareness. The fact is that if you get down to sit and review, that is the first step to you being aware that 6 hours on mobile, what am I doing on mobile? Once that flash that you're sitting on 6 hours on mobile comes up, or even 2 hours, I didn't think I was there for 6 hours on mobile, is a realization which hits. And that's where this practice of being aware is a first step and a good step to give you a jolt to reality of how much time you're actually lost in distractions. Thank you, Pawan, for sharing that. Ravi, and then Ellen.
So this checklist kind of, it helped to me as well, my current organization, what was happening. So we have across 2000 contract laborers. So different contract laborers in my organization, in current organization where I'm working. So what happened, this number of manpower is involvement. So manning is involvement there. So this the security and who are checking candidates. So there is no checking checklist is not there. who to check, who to approve, etc. So they are directly without approving, they are processing the bill. I made the checklist. So how many mandates, whom to check, prepared by, so approved by. What are the details need to be checked, whether GST is there, whether migrate employees are also there.
Ravi, a quick question. The idea here is about distractions. How has that changed? The law is about how did you deliver on this as a result of lack of distractions, or how did you avoid distractions in the things that you're doing?
So the technology incorporate the biometric kind of technology involved that so everyone need to be punch. Now punching is not there. So there is a massive malpractice, massive lapping is there. So interacted biometric and through doing the biometric machine, that everything, all the 2000.
Interesting. Largely, again, the very valid point with regard to the so much of a manual labor and the manual work which goes in. Why not use technology to make sure you do not have to focus for that much time wherein the distractions come in? Interesting pointer, Ravi. Thank you for sharing that. Ellen, go ahead. Ellen, you're on mute.
Yeah.
You're still on mute. Ellen, you're on mute if you're speaking.
I'm audible, right?
You're on and off, on and off. Ellen, you're not audible.
Hello? Yeah, I'm speaking, but now it's...
Yeah, now it's audible.
Yeah, the digital well-being, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing I'm utilizing last 4 days. Actually, today I received notification, 900 notifications. I'm seeing today 900 notification invite. Again, that what I have done, I have fixing time after
Ellen, I'm sorry. Ellen, I'm sorry, you're not audible. Can we come back to you later? Rabia, I think let's move with today's session. The further laws which are there, we'll be missing out on then. It's already 9:40. Let's move ahead with the further laws and then we can have more inputs on that. I hope everyone is okay with that.
Sure.
Okay. We'll come back to Ellen as and when his network is better. Let's move to the next laws which are there. As an extension of the Carlson's law, which talked about distraction. Here, distraction was an external stimuli which came without plan and it moved our attention from what we are doing. But the other side of the picture is how long can we persist with the continuous work and deliver higher quality result. There are different laws are there, wherein one of the law which talked about this is Illich law. It talks about law of diminishing returns. So if you all have studied economics, you would have read about this. The law basically tells that we all operate on this cycle, wherein this cycle of productivity, as you start getting into the work and deliver, there's a certain limit after which, after a passage of a certain time, your productivity starts to fall. And what they say is the law tells that beyond 90 minutes on a single task, a normal human behavior or a normal human productivity is sure to fall if you continue to persist beyond 90 minutes. So there are different laws wherein have you observed where in your works, right? Especially for people who are working on a full-time job and the way you're committed, have you observed that are there times where you're sitting on your work on a continuous basis and you have seen the result of which is that as time prolongs, your productivity starts to fall and it further backfires or is counterproductive to your work and what you're delivering beyond whatever time that you have. Here he's talking of 90 minutes. It can be different for some people and it can be different or higher, a bit higher or lower for different people. Rabia.
Yeah, I could give you the best example of my classes as well, because the classes we have it for around 50 minutes time, but after pandemic, it has been cut short to 40 minutes. As per the Zoom meetings were set with the 40 minutes timing. And you won't believe everybody got used to of the same timings by now. though we are having offline classes, still the students have that set mindset in there, and they have made it that we have to just listen only up to 40 minutes. After then, even if we go beyond, they start yawning or they just distract themselves. They just give every facial expression to show that better you stop, it's time up. So whatever be the interesting topic or whatever, before means I can observe it very easily and I can just check it on and then say that, yes, I know the Zoom time is over, but though it is a offline class, but I know that it's time. And they just laugh and say that, yes, ma'am, it's enough. No, then yeah, I say, okay, fine, we will continue next day. So this is the change which I have observed, and that is how it is going on. We cannot go beyond it. Sometimes it so happen if any of the staff members is absent or something on leave, yeah, I'm going to stop. Then they say us to continue for the 2 hours. Then I say, no, there is no chance of it. I don't want to and they don't want to. So we need to stop it.
Interesting. Anyone else would like to share any of their stories where they have worked for longer duration, have seen the result or the quality of their productivity go low? Anyone else would like to share any of their stories? Go ahead, Pawan.
Sometimes what happens is like, yeah, we face with some customer problems and we have to solve it. So we get somewhere stuck sometimes, like we keep on thinking. Sometimes we don't get ideas. So when we break and come back, we think differently. Like it provides some kind of fresh kind of thought sometimes. Mostly like towards the end of the day, you do something. You keep on working overnight, but don't get any idea. When you sleep and get back fresh on the next day, the problem will have a solution. So that's what I found.
Thank you, Pawan. Rabia, to your situation where we're talking of 40 minutes, and should we have a break of 10 minutes after every class? Or should we have a coffee break after every whatever is a project that you're doing? Some projects will be 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes and
No,
deliverable or
it's
something.
not a break. We can't give. We need to continue. But the thing is, they need different subjects, one after the other. Change.
Interesting. Now here we are talking a little bit a depth of this law, which basically the law tells we need a break. The break need not be the break in itself in the sense of not doing anything. It's talking about a change. That's the reason. Don't have a boring concept of a boring class like a history and then again have something like geography. It's still in principle the same boring which continues. That's the reason you look at how a lot of schools have this scheduling pattern of classes also in such a way that the wave of learning and the excitement in subjects is played accordingly. Now here, this entire idea is basis of how interruptions we talked in the previous point, the need for break. The break can be a scheduled break, and more importantly, it should change the context for you. If you're working, like Pawan talked about, working with a client, and after 45 minutes, okay, we are not getting any ideas, let's take a break. You sit there for 5 minutes and then get back to that call? No. Break in the sense of actual change in the setup in what you're doing. If it's a classroom, it's just maybe change of subject. If it's an office, talk of a moving from your chair, moving here or there, going for a coffee break, coming back, changing the topic, not again with the same set of people you go out, you're discussing in the coffee break also same thing. It's not a break. The idea is to change the context for you to loosen on that idea which is going on for such a long stretch. That can be 40 minutes or 90 minutes, whatever is the time frame. What works is this change helps us loosen that entire productivity hang that we are getting as we peak in this working, whatever we are working. So remember, with regard to whatever you're doing, there's something called as a Pomodoro principle also. Chetan shared with us, or someone, I think Pawan shared with us last week. The idea is work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Here, the break is literal break, shift the position or change the topic or do something else, which will help you regaining that interest on that subject. It is often said, take 25 minutes plus 5 and multiply this by 3 or 4 cycles. And beyond that, that 5-minute break doesn't help. You actually have a 30-minute break so that if you wish to still continue with this work, it helps you still persist much longer. So start working on how you are having the breaks, scheduled breaks in the work that you're doing to improve and last that productivity that you have while you're delivering and doing things. Focus on that. And is it just about this one day or this 1 hour or this one project that we're talking of? Have you observed why we have a weekend? Can't we work for 25 days and then have 5 days holidays? No, right?
Impossible.
Can't we work for 2 years and then take a 2 months holiday?
Never, never, never.
Now, the reasoning behind this break and the idea behind this break is to make sure in different facets of your life and different time frames, you are inculcating breaks to make sure you are regenerated to come back and deliver in the best of your productivity in whatever you're doing. So if you're talking of a holiday, taking a break with your family, going out somewhere, I remember talking about the travel tales, that video which I talked about. The need for a break helps you regain that energy for you to deliver on the things. So make sure on a weekly basis, like here we talked about 1 day and 1 hour or 5 hours or 6 hours. On a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, in a year, make sure you are spacing breaks in everything that you're doing. That is what will help you. Even if you follow this Pomodoro principle and do not have a break in a year, it's not going to help. After 3 months of following this very principle, you'll be still having fatigue. You'll be still lost out of what and your best of days. You will have to take a break then. So look at what principle, in principle, it is talking of having a break so that all these things are helpful. So that brings me to the next law. The next law is Walson's law. It's a law which tells if you keep putting information and intelligence first, money will keep coming in. And this is very important for all of y'all who are working and into the professional world. Remember, he shared this interesting story about there were 2 people in the office who were asked. One person was being promoted every year and the second person was not being promoted. The second person was very angry, asking that I am so equally talented, I deliver on my work which has been given so well and as much as the other person is doing, and yet he's promoted every year and I'm not. And that's when the boss called these 2 people and asked them that we are trying or we are planning to launch it was a juice factory, and they are saying that we are planning to launch a watermelon flavored juice in the next month in this market. Can you explore the potential for this? This person who was not being promoted went and came back and said that there are 3 juice shops there and they do not have a large interest towards that because sugarcane is something which sells more over there. The second person came back a bit late. He came back and said, there are 3 shops over there and they sell largely sugarcane juice because they have their profit margins higher in that. And I think if we give them the good margins, our watermelon juice can also sell there. More importantly, there are a large number of higher brand showrooms also there, which I think we can sell our franchise to open the watermelon juice shops in those places, which have a good potential. Because that's how Coca-Cola in the year 1981 killed Pepsi, by making the vending machine available at every nook and corner, and Pepsi was never to catch up with Coke. That's the answer he gave to the boss. And this person was standing right beside him and wondering, what all is he saying? And the boss looked at him and asked him, now tell me who should be promoted among the 2 of you. What you do and what information and insights you get from what you're doing are 2 different things. If you're delivering on what you're doing, it will save your job. You may not be fired. But if you want to grow, you have to go beyond what is expected for you to move to the next job. It can be within the company or beyond. The idea is how well are you utilizing information and how well are you bringing out insights from that information. Now look at all the work that you're doing. Ask yourself, what is the differentiating factor for you to move ahead in your work? Is it just the work that you're doing? Or is it the extra effort that you're putting to gain information? Knowledge everyone has. That is a fact. The 3 watermelon shop, the 3 juice centers was a fact which the first person came back with. Information is to understand why is sugarcane juice selling more. Insight is the 3 new showrooms which are there, which we can potentially target to sell our franchise. That is where this law tells us information and intelligence. Focus on having or building your information and intelligence at all times. If not today, the money will flow to you. It will, based on how you are going beyond your job. And that's where your growth lies. Anyone has any stories, whether you have experienced this or you have seen people with this what do we say, this differentiation that people have had, maybe your mentor, someone you admire, someone whom you have liked for the way they deliver and they have grown in their life. Anyone would like to share quickly? Madhu, go ahead.
Yeah, I heard one story about there is a two shop sales representatives. The company sent them to some African countries to sell their chappals. I know many of might have heard that story. So one guy went there and seen, and no one is wearing any slippers or anything. And he tried to interact one or two people, and they're they don't know anything what is that slipper and all those things, and they're not interested. And immediately he called the management and said, no, here no one wears a chappal, and they don't really bother about it also. Please, send me the return ticket. I'll come back. The second guy, he calls, please send some bunch of first product, because here no one wears the slippers and they don't know about it also. What is advantages and all those things? I'll make them what is advantage and all those things, so I can sell a lot of consignment. So please send. So the perspective, whatever his intelligence with the information, it's really a good point I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhu. Very interesting story. Again, a very famous story about this, that nobody wears a chappal, so everyone is a customer. Nobody wears a chappal, and so we don't have a market here. A different perspective and how you're using your insights to develop that. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Anyone you know personally where you have seen this kind of a difference, where they chase insights, they chase information, and that is a differentiation in how they have grown in their work, in their relationships, or wherever it is. AJ, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to share my story actually. That approx 1 year before, I had started with habit journey session first. At that time, I talked to my mom. Okay, and I actually told my mom about that session. I am going to start that, how to wake up early. Actually, I wanted to wake up with persons, and I wanted to spend 30 minutes, 1 hour time in the morning time. I do some meditation, this kind of activity together. So my mom shocked about it, that how is it possible? Because they are generally woke up 3:30, 4, and for waking up, someone will charging the money. Yeah, actually, someone give me the money. It's beyond their capacity, isn't it? So, but Suryadeep sir, I just called one person, Suryadeep Mojumdar. He gave me some insight actually. He told me, AJ, you are doing something, so you should charge something. Okay. If I charge 5,000 rupees, you can charge 500 also. Try to do it. Try to break that barrier from your mindset. Then I thought it's okay. And I have announced once, yeah, I'm going to start my paid session. And recently I have got 2 students. Then I realized that to wake up early also, they are ready to pay. It means if you are able to solve a little problem also, then you can create business. So it's a different.
Thank you, AJ. I think very interesting story. Let's see who in this room is willing to get pay or pay you for waking them up early. Let's see, and who will want to partner you, or they can start a business proposal that I'll wake you all up 5 minutes before AJ wakes you up. Vijaya, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm audible.
Yeah.
So what is the thing? Like in India, we are having a diabetes and iron deficiency. These are the main problems we are facing right now. So in research centers, nutrition research centers, they send people to researchers there in a village to research that what is the status of iron in kids. So they went there and they said that yes, there is a deficiency. Means 80% of the kids are deficient of that iron, and they came back and research closed. Later on, what is the thing? Another team went there and they said that yes, they included beetroot, they included everything, more research. They are taking different things, but still they are deficient of iron. Third team with a good professor, they research there, and there they talk that if we are having iron in our diet, but if we are not having vitamin C in our diet, so iron is not properly absorbed in our body, and that thing creates the what? If you are taking vitamin C and iron, so it's triple the absorption of iron. So this research gives a new insight that we can reduce or not iron deficiency by taking iron, but we have to add vitamin C also, so we can improve that. And within 3 months, that those kids improved a lot of hemoglobin in their body, iron. So this is one of the things we can say with this example.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vijay. I think that's a very noble use of information and insights that we can build based on the research and the things that we're doing. Wonderfully shared. Thank you, Vijay, for sharing that. Here, the entire premise of this idea is, I would like to ask you all now, how many of you all attended last week's session? Can you just raise your hand? Okay. Were you all excited about knowing about laws of human behavior? Were you all excited last week? Interesting. How many of you all went ahead on Google for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour to explore something that you can learn new about some law which Rahul did not share? Thank you, Pawan, for sharing that. The idea is, look at where I stopped and look at where you started. The facts is what I can give. The change, all these reflections that we talked about in this session, look at why you did not have stories about each of those laws. The question is, you all are aware of the facts. The challenge is, there's no information or insight coming out of it in your practical life. That's where the benefit of the knowledge of these attending these sessions or joining us will come. I'm telling you is a different thing that come with stories, but how much are you inclined to do it by yourself, where you are doing and observing and reflecting on your own life, where this law is valid? What can I change? What is the result of that change? Knowledge is that first person that I talked of who has the delivery of the job. Like I mentioned, doing as much as required will save your job. It is going beyond is what will make you move to the next step. Let me move to the last and the next law which I have. It is a law which came as a contrary to something which was prevailing for a long time. The earlier law was called as the barrel theory, wherein if you look at, just imagine this pieces of a barrel. बचपन में होता था कि एक एक डंडा उठा के एक पॉट को बनाते थे, जैसे एक बैरल को बनाते थे. The law was the shortest wood piece of the barrel is where the limitation of that barrel is. If you construct a barrel with wood pieces like this, the amount of water it can fill is the maximum is the length or the height of the shortest wood piece. उसके ऊपर पानी आएगा तो बाहर निकल जाएगा, right? Now here the construct which happened based on the recent observation was, there's something which was called the anti-barrel theory. It is not the shortest wood piece which tells what your potential is or what your limitation is or how much you can do. It is rather the tallest wood piece which creates what your potential is. We often see, how many of you all have seen the story of a bottleneck, wherein the front part of the bottle is like this and the bigger bottle is like this. I've always believed that for us, it's all about balance. It's all about how we can have or create the entire path in which there's a free flow without a bottleneck. If we have to work somewhere, it is at the bottleneck. If you have to grow somewhere, it is at the bottleneck. But the reality is where different management research and observations of people who have succeeded massively is come from the fact that it is not the bottleneck. It is where your strength lies is where your potential lies. Here there are two definitions of strength. One is the vertical. So today, if I'm into this training field, someone is into technology, someone is into finance, someone is into law, someone is into doctors. These are fields. Now here, and there's a depth of it. If I were to ask you, there are teachers here, so I would want to take the pleasure of asking this and listen to their responses. If your child gets 70 marks in science and gets 90 marks in mathematics, which tuition will you put him in?
Science.
Chetan?
Science, obviously.
Uma ma'am?
Maybe both.
This
Math,
law,
he can get 100, and science, maybe he can improve some more.
this law, now if you look at the limitation as 100 and the potential which is there, where he has to balance himself and up his science score and let maths be where it is because it's decent enough. This law tells us that put him in the maths tuition. The line which I want to share, which is by Peter F. Drucker, one of the renowned modern management gurus, he says that it takes more effort, much more effort to go from incompetence to mediocrity when compared to going from first class to excellence. If you're already at 90 and you know you are in the first class category where you're inching towards excellence in the work that you're doing, why do you want to waste your time on spending something which is at 70 and inch that with hard work and pain and get everything to 80, 85? Why not go for mastery in 90? And it is much more pleasurable because of the fact that you are already at 90. The underlying principle here is don't now take off the entire premise of college, exams, results, and put this idea to what you're doing to yourself now. In the work that you're doing, just to add flavors, just to add more verticals, you are adding one more certification, you are investing more time into something rather than going deeper into what you are doing well. It is said 90% of the last 10 years, people who have become CEOs are not generalists. They are not people who are just managers or management people. 90% of the Fortune 500 CEOs are actually operational people and specialists who have mastered what they are doing and have aced it. If you are into something, if you're good at teaching, let somebody else bother about the marketing part of it. Hire someone, but ace and build your teaching skill. If you are good at technology, get deeper into how you can deliver a better product, better technology, better result. Let someone else take care of the parallels which are there, which are required, but someone else can also manage with some else expertise which comes in, which they will bring in. Don't go, or earlier it was a case where you can be a jack of all trades and you can win it all. But today the world is much more deeper and specialist, where the one who are succeeding are the ones who are specialists, who have dug deep and become masters of that one thing. And that's the reason focus is very important. You could be thinking, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll cover up everything. But the fact is, you are wasting your time on something which is not your forte at the cost of building the strength that you have. Balancing, entrepreneur, all these ideas are very valid. I'm not saying these are not valid at all. All I'm saying is that always focus on becoming a master of one, and the rest of the things can take care of themselves. Here, I'm not saying get 19 maths and try to build 95 maths and get 14 science. 70 managing, that's enough. Find some specialist who can do that science work for you. Okay, Akanksha, don't get ideas. I'm not assigning another person to write your exams, but just the fact that how you are focusing on building one and focusing and building and becoming a master in that. That's what this law was all about, where it is anti-barrel. It is not your limitations. It is your strength, and digging deeper into your strength is what will make you successful in whatever you're doing. Otherwise, you'll become like the mediocre who is focusing in average, trying to be successful, but having a mediocre performance in everything. The two things that I would like to share here. Your weakest link is not your limitation. It is an area which is not of your interest. Your strongest link is something which has the potential for you to exceed and become a master in. Focus on building that. And you will see that everything else can be managed in the meantime. And focus on not the breadth of the things that you're doing, but the depth of your mastery. That is where the money comes in. Today, if someone is charging for standing up on stage and delivering a talk for 20 minutes and he's charging 5 lakhs, it is because of the depth that they have, the experience of. And that's where the charge comes in. If he were too bothered about marketing, Facebook, Instagram, this, that, and 100 things which are happening and focusing on those things and developing or catching up on those things, he would not be worth what he's doing today. Our entire idea of Speak Up Club also has been consistency and delivering day in and day out. Every week we have been here, and that way is where we are focused. Because one thing which I got as a comment from, as a compliment from someone who is my mentor, is about we reaching 123rd session, because people are not able to survive with on such a long duration. We are talking of not doing in 30 days 120 sessions. We are talking of 2.5 year time frame where we have continued and stayed and stuck to the plan of what we are doing and build the depth of the relationship, depth of what we are adding value in. And that's where it helped us stretch for so long, and yet people coming back to us because we focused on the depth rather than the width of it. I could have done the same marketing of it. I could have done Facebook ads. Please come here, please do that. Because that is not the idea behind Speak Up Club. It's a family, and where the connect happened and the people who valued it have always come back. That's what has made us proud, and focus on the depth of changing lives. I've seen this. How many of you all have seen ads or wherever today on Facebook, or so many initiatives are there? Headline is directly, I want to change 1 million lives. Target is directly 1 million. If you ask them how many zeros are there in 1 million, they won't be able to answer. And if you ask them how many people have they impacted and changed the lives of, they won't go beyond the second zero. But their target is directly 1 million. I have always changed. Earlier, it was my case because because we have a record of all the programs and how many programs and how many students or how many people have attended. We have touched base as a part of my journey for 17 years of living life. We have touched base with over 30,000 people. So many people have had an interaction with the programs, some sessions, some format or the other. But the point is, over the last 1.5 years, I realized that the breadth won't matter. Because being a part of memory that I saw this video, I attend this program, isn't as much valued as compared to 100 people who are connected with living life, and we have worked on the depth of those people and bringing change. This 100 people are enough. And here, for this law, I would just like to close with this idea where Swami Vivekananda beautifully said, give me 100 young men and I can transform this country. He didn't talk of 1 million. Remember that? Because he focused on the depth and the change that was possible for this limited set of people, where he wanted to dig deeper and bring change to their life. And as a result, everything else will change. That was the anti-barrel theory. Anyone who would like to share any ideas that you have or any thoughts where you have seen people who are 100% focused or brought about building their strength? AJ, quick, go ahead.
Actually, I wanted to share a story related to your last sentence.
Go ahead.
That 100 men. Actually, this story is related to Buddha. Once Buddha actually generally went to a village, and there he sits and he says nothing. And there are 1,000 people at a time. And in this way, it's going on. And every day he's coming, but says nothing. But the people are coming to listening some advice from him. But the people are decreasing day by day because he says nothing. He just kept silence. So in this way, people are abusing him and decreasing. After 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, only 10% are there. Then Buddha says something, starts something. And that 10% that become his discipline in future. So Then he actually tried to understand everyone that patience has required, how much patience has required. They have no patience. There are a lot of person, they came for fun or something else. But you are the 10 people who has that genuine patience to become a successful disciple or actually great person.
Interesting. Thank you, Ajay, for sharing that very insightful story. And I think that is something which I resonate with. Dinesha, go ahead.
There is a famous related proverb is there: master of none, jack of all. That means they know everything, but they're not mastering anyone. Instead of that, now recent, we should be master of one and jack of all. We should know everything, and we should be in-depth knowledge in one particular one. We should be master in one.
Very interesting. Dinesha, I would urge you to go and read this complete quote. It's a very famous quote where we have known for a long time only half the story. Wherein the normal quote that we come across and which is used very often is master of one, master of none, and jack of all trades and master of none is what we know. But go to Google and actually search for the complete quote, and you'll see that it is actually written as, I don't know the exact wording, but it is written as that.
Still better than a master of one.
Jack of all trades and master of none is still better than a master of one. Akanksha, what is that?
That's it.
Is still better than a master of only one. A different perspective wherein completely focused. Here it is again anti our theory that we just discussed, but the fact is observing what is happening. The full quote is this: people have used it based on their convenience of what is comfortable to them, and so we know the common one is jack of all trades and master of none is what we have got stuck to. The actual quote is extended one. So yeah, again, different perspectives of how you go about and what you're doing in it. Thank you, Dinesha, for sharing that. Vijaya, go ahead.
I was like this, no? This rule 4 or 5 years before. No? Yeah, I was wondering, after engineering, no, I was wondering, now I'm having baby, what to do. So I was thinking of selling masala, go into ISRO or join some corporate company or like these things, or giving that engineers have so many options, no? So give that so there is much more confusion in that. So I was thinking like that, start a business or join some research centers or some corporate or some bank exams I have to give. So my focus is what I want to do something, but I am doing nothing. I was doing nothing. So that is the case. Then after some time, I listed some few things. What I am interested, what I like the most, either engineering or some other field. So out of that, I took 5 things, then 4 things, and then finally I got that my interest is in cooking. And that is somewhat different one from all 5. Okay, so that thing means, yes, that is the thing that we have to be focused. Right now, again, the same scenario is there. And I'm just, recently, just when I was in the shop, I was thinking of that same thing, that now again, I'm having 5-6 options. Again, this time. Now what to do? How to focus myself? I talk this only with my husband right now also. Means we are getting options in our life, so many options every time, in every business. But जो business करता है ना उसको options. अब जैसे मैंने dietitian का course मेरा जैसे I'm doing. So in that again, I want to do baking or I want to do this course. So again, 2 options. So I have to deal with that. I have to focus how I can merge, and I'm trying to focus on one thing. So that is the thing.
Interesting. While having said where I have talking about this anti-barrel theory, I have my own complex. I have my own chaos, I would say, in the things that I'm doing. I'm into jewelry business. I'm into living life. I'm also into a software-based, Excel-based software solution provider. I'm into Toastmasters. And today, over the last 6 months, I've had multiple instances where I have got invites to engage in more formats. There's something called as a professional speakers organization. But right now, with being the president of Hyderabad Toastmasters, I had to tell no. I got an opportunity for BNI. I had to tell no, because already my plate is full. And these also are already far too excess than what one can deal with. I've been lucky to have the support and the backbone of the systems that we have put in place, with which I'm able to explore so much and utilize myself. But yet, every time an opportunity comes, I have to start thinking, should I try this? Should I? Yeah, achha opportunity hai. And that's where a lot of things have played the puzzle, and you have to be the best judge whether how much so lucrative one thing might seem. Does it have a space for you to further your breadth? And if that breadth is coming at the cost of the depth of the things that you're doing, you have to hold back yourself. Otherwise, the things that you have, which you are confident of, becomes arrogance, and that is at loss as a result of stretching yourself even further. So choose. And like I mentioned, until if you don't have still a clarity, I've mentioned this in the Pursuit of Passion session. If you don't have a clarity of what you are passionate about, what excites you, spread your wings. Play, play, play. Do everything. You never know what will excite you. Vijaya might not have had an answer for the things that she's doing today. 5 years back, had she not played around, she would have not known. Uma ma'am would not have known this virtual space, training online, taking sessions, Toastmasters, but she played. I don't know the story. AJ, he would have not known this world, and he would be sitting somewhere in Assam, in some village, somewhere doing something else, had he not played with it. But the idea is play, play, play until you don't have an answer. But once you find a spark somewhere, make sure you get deeper and dig deeper into building your mastery in that, because that is where your potential and your, what do you say, the money which is involved, if someone is looking for money or whatever, the impact that you have will go much deeper with that. With that, we come to an end for today's session. I would like to ask anyone if you would like to share any feedback quickly, and then we'll stop the recording, and then I'll stay back and discuss a few things. Anyone would like to share any feedback, any insights that you have gained from today's session? Yes, Akanksha, go ahead.
Not specific insights regarding any law, but generally speaking, this idea of loss of life is a very interesting thing to me, because there are so many different laws, but there are also counter laws for this. Like just the one you shared, the jack of all trades, master of none, it also has a continuation part to it. So that's a very interesting thing to even think about. It gives you two different perspectives, and everyone here sharing their perspectives, it adds to just more and more perspectives to learn from. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Last week we had Vijaya's law also. Vijaya, कुछ बोलना चाहोगे? मत बोलो, रुको 2 minutes बाद और भूल जाओगे. That is Vijaya's law for us. Anyone else would like to share any feedback for the session that we had today? Because technically speaking, this will be the last kind of inspiration or the knowledge sharing session, which is an open one. Because the next 2 sessions, one is a celebration session, and next one is going to be a talent night, where like we had it in the past, we are going to have showcasing of talents, whatever talent, whatever forms of expression that you have. You'll be coming up on stage and sharing. We'll be sharing the poster of this very soon so that people get an opportunity to register themselves. Next week is going to be that. It can be poetry, it can be some language or singing or some talent that you have, would you like to share before Diwali, because that's a special meeting that we have before Diwali, and we would like to celebrate all together in a good mood. Vijaya, go ahead.
I want to say that law na forgetful bhul jana, that is really very useful one. When we are going to मतलब जैसे anger निकालना है या कुछ करना है ना, so if you forget for 5 seconds what to say, we will save so many things.
It's actually a blessing sometimes. Yes, indeed. After I say whatever I want to, then I say I forgot what I said. It's an easy way out, you know, but I can't survive with that with my wife. I'm not sure how everyone else survives that, but it's a good law. Vijaya's law is what we are calling that from now on. Anyone would like to share any feedback before we close the session the formal way? Yes, AJ, go ahead.
Yeah, we know the information, we know the insight, idea, everything, but we have to implement all those things. If we will not implement, we will not be able to understand that it will work for me or not.
Interesting. Thank you. Very interesting point again, AJ. Now here you have 3 new laws that we have discussed today. Make sure you're able to reflect and get deeper on how these 3 laws are relevant to your, where is it that you're missing on, where you're going wrong or possibly have a different perspective, and if it's still working for you or not working for you. Review on that and look at the next 1 week. We'll have the reflections for what you did over the next 1 week based on these reflections or the laws that we have learned in this session. With that, let me close the session the formal way, and then we'll stay back for a few announcements. Saturday nights have never been this beautiful for the last 1, 2, 3 Saturday nights now. It's been an honor to be sharing our perspectives, listening to your perspectives, and gaining new perspectives. Thank you for the love that you keep coming back every Saturday night and adding life to our lives and to every member of the Speak Up Club family. See you all next Saturday, 9 p.m. again for a special Diwali celebration night that we're going to have with the talent night that we are scheduling. And I'll be opening the registrations for that very soon in the Speak Up Club group. Thank you. Good night, everyone.